to, I think, our second office hours. I am Kristen Dawn Hefner. I think I have worked with many of you in some way or shape. Probably I was asking you to cut your budgets. Anyways, I work with OHA and have been leading the negotiation work and will transition to broadly helping with the program moving forward. This is really a space for you all to ask questions, learn from maybe questions that are being asked. It's kind of just your traditional college style open office hours. We will have, I think, more programming in our technical assistance sessions, one of which is on Thursday afternoon. But if you have questions for us, for OHA, about your grant agreement, administering or getting your burns up and running, purchasing property, signing your MOUs, or anything like that, now is this time and space. You can put those questions into the chat. If you don't have questions and you just want to hang around to see if other people do ask questions while you multitask, that is great. But we're really just going to hold this next hour for that kind of informal drop-in time. So with that, I will shut up because you've probably all heard way too much of my voice. Yeah, question away. Oh, right, Jenny, we have a question from Providence. Where should we send the certificates of insurance? That is a great question. I'm going to put the Measure 110 email address in the chat. And you can send your certificates of insurance to this email address, which I always spell wrong the first time. So making sure it's actually right. It's m110grants@odhsoha.oregon.gov. And you can send your certificates of insurance there and any other questions as well. Katie Olson with Ideal Options asked, is there an anticipated timeline for grant agreement adjustments to be reset? We will get any adjustments to grant agreements sent back to partners this week. Usually we process, our contracts team process is changes, requested edits, contact information, adjustments, those kinds of things. On Fridays, I think we kind of just landed a final important policy for making those sorts of changes on Friday. So they are getting worked on as we speak, and hopefully will get sent out to folks early this week. And that is for folks who had boxes checked that shouldn't have been checked in those days. Melly from Iron Tribe asked, when will the policy templates be released? And that is a good question. I'm not sure if we have a specific timeline just yet. We're working on them as fast as we can. But importantly, the 90-day clock for submitting policy templates does not start until we get those finalized. So you aren't on a deadline yet, because we are still working to get those done, and we will send them out as soon as we can. Jeffrey with Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living asked, is there a particular procedure required by OHA to follow when purchasing property? We are in the process of, I think, amending, or we will be amending grant agreements for people who purchase real property. We'll no longer be requiring a lien on real property purchases. Instead, we will be issuing a declaration of covenants for the property to be used as specified. And that will be recorded in the property deed. So it won't involve the bank anymore. Our social determinants of health team is working on finalizing, I think, their policies as well for purchasing property, but I know that folks are kind of already moving forward, making property purchases with the funding that was approved by the OAC, and I think that is perfectly fine to move forward. And we will get the specifics of the housing policy out to you as soon as they are all done. And to answer Melly's question about the new housing policy, it is a declaration of restricted covenants that we will be placing on the deed to the property. And that will just mean that the property should be used as intended. It has the same kind of basic effect as the lien, but instead of being recorded with the bank, it's being recorded with the property deed, but gets filed with the county. And so if you sell the property, if you transition the property, that declaration will follow the property unless you work with us to remove it and transition the property away. And there will be a process for that that we figure out when we come, if and when we come to that place. Jenny asked if Multnomah County was working on a different project time period than other burns. Multco being 7/22, asking if Multco will be 7/22 through 1/24 versus 7/22 through 12/23. All of the grant agreements will be backdated to July 1st, 2022, regardless of when they are approved and when they are and when grant agreements are signed. And the end date for everyone will be December 2023. I do see that we have some of our data team from OHA here with us. So if you have any data questions, we can also likely answer or try to answer some of those, since I know I've gotten a lot of questions about reporting. Melly asked, should we expect our second quarter payment at the beginning of October? I believe it'll be the end of September, beginning of October. Yes. So the 30th of September, the 1st of October.
Kristen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is James over at EORC in Pendleton.
Mhm.
Hey, I was wanting to know, we're in the process of remodeling our building for the burn center. And my last understanding is that there were some rules or guidelines that were being put together to be sent out. Do we have a timeline for when those would be coming out? And when the 90 days would start for us to have the burn up and running?
Sure, that's a good question. I don't have a final timeline for when the policies and procedures will be out, aside from soon. And the 90-day clock will start when we finalize those and send them out. So that clock hasn't started yet for anybody.
Okay.
And we are working hard to try to finalize those very soon.
Okay. One more question.
Sure.
We have set in our proposal, we proposed for funding to help with housing and we were awarded a certain amount for that. What we're finding is people are calling, we don't have the housing in our per se ready at our agency yet. So what we're doing is proposing to use it for helping people with housing in the community. And our question is, do we have to have the entire amount accessible until it's gone? Literally, do we use it all now? Or do we have the option to set aside so much per month to assist with housing so that it's spread out over the time period?
I think you can. I think if it were me, I would spread it out over the time period. But I think that maybe can you send this specific question to our M110 inbox, and we'll have our experts look at it and get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. I see another question from Melly in the chat. Some of our burn partners received their first payment last week. And is there a certain way the funds are being released? That's a good question as well. We release funds after we have executed grant agreements and an MOU on file for all burn partners. We're also, I think, releasing funds in waves, depending on if you have electronic funds set up with us or if we are releasing a paper check. But I am not sure if there is a specific way the funds are being released. Melly, I can follow up with you offline about the status of yours. Oh, no, I am off mute. Have another question in the chat from Brian. He asked, I can't find it now, but are there ADA requirements for the housing provided and where does that apply? And that is a question that I need to check in with our housing team about and get back to you, Brian. That is a good question though. Another question from, or comment from Jenny. Thank you for the opportunity to ask these questions. You're welcome, Jenny. That is what we're here for. Then Brian asked, when we change services of our grants to meet the budget requirement or fill in holes services, are we still bound in any way to the commitments in the original application that may not be listed in the new budget? I think that might depend on what exactly was listed in the original application and the new budget. So that might be a good specific question to email to the Measure 110 inbox. If you have a specific situation and we can help you troubleshoot it. I think we recognize that there are going to be some changes that happen over time with needing more staff, needing fewer staff, whatever the situation might be. And so these kind of situations we want to take case by case and make sure we're being responsive and thoughtful about, what you ended up proposing, wanting to do and what the reality is. So I would send that specific question and maybe situation to our M110 inbox and we will help you troubleshoot.
All right, so it sounds like Kristen is stuck on mute, which happens sometimes. I know programs can be glitchy on computers. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Carroll. I'm the interim program manager for Measure 110. It looks like we do have a question in the chat, and I will attempt to answer it unless Kristen somehow came off mute magically.
I think I did.
All right.
The magical behind the scenes internet gnomes helped. Thank you, internet gnomes. Melly asked if the meeting with the OAC this week will be going over the Multnomah County budgets. And the answer to that question is yes, we are preparing to take Multnomah County and Lane County to the Oversight Council tomorrow afternoon. And we are working very hard to get the final 3 counties to the council in the following week or so. So we're very, very close to having burns up and running, or burns approved in all 36 counties, which is very exciting. And looking back to starting all of this in May, I think I have probably aged another year in that short amount of time, but that's okay. I think we've all learned a lot together, and I just appreciate everyone being so patient and wonderful to work with throughout all of this. Because I know it hasn't always been easy, and sometimes it's been hard. And we've had a lot of difficult, interesting, fun conversations along the way. So maybe I have a weird definition of fun, but I've enjoyed this work. I appreciate all of you and the work that you did to get to this point, and the future work you are going to be doing in your community. Brian asked, had another question. Normally we need to respond to peer needs within 48 hours, except for peer supports, which has a 24-hour hotline requirement. Has that requirement been met outside of the burns, or do the burns need to address this within their county? I think the burns have to have, each burn has to have screening and assessments available 24/7, and that is not specific to a hotline or anything like that. They just have to have it available. I think I know where this question's going, but I don't want to assume. So maybe Brian, you can submit again if you have a specific thought in mind to the Measure 110 inbox. But each burn does have to have someone providing screening and assessments 24/7. And that doesn't necessarily have to be via a hotline. That could be in person or a hotline. And there isn't a requirement, I don't believe, that's been met outside of the burns. I have another question from Tammy in the chat. The state regulations number 23 states that weekly 1 hour supervision is required for each peer support specialist. Is there any flexibility with this? Right now, Chance does 1 hour per month with each peer support specialist. That is a good question. I know we have, I think DOJ is here, but we might want to just take that one back and get back to you, Tammy, or include it in our FAQs that we are going to be releasing in the coming days. That's a good question. I'm just not, fortunately, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I'm still learning all of the state regulations that are associated with Measure 110, and I haven't committed them all to memory quite yet. But we will get back to you. Brian asked, what is the OAC's ongoing role after all the burns are approved? And that is a good question. They are also going to be approving the policies and procedures documents, I believe. And they will be doing a little bit of a postmortem on some of the processes up until this point as they get ready to do it all over again. We'll be releasing another RFGA at some point, so I think we are working to get them and everyone here kind of give a little break, but then also kind of start thinking about what we're doing in the next round of funding. What changes we might be making to the process, if any, to respond to some of the feedback that we've heard from you all. And I think, you know, making sure that we're being responsive to, I think the conversations that I've had with many of you about how we can improve in the future. I'm not sure if I missed anything, but Jessica can jump in if I did.
Yeah, just real quick, I think this is a really good question, and probably a more complete answer is forthcoming. I just do want to, you know, just call out that this is an oversight and accountability council. So they have some very specific authority through the Senate Bill 755. And so I would just, you know, invite everybody to read that and send any specific questions to the Measure 110 inbox. That way we can make sure to get you a very thorough and accurate answer. Thank you.